So I knew as soon as Elon Musk, came out and started talking shit about the media, he was gonna get like hit piece after hit piece about him. And now pretty much anything he does is spun in a negative light, even if it's like trying to help people. Like, for example, he went and built like a little pod to try to help these Thai kids. You know, remember yeah, I'm sure you've all heard about it. Those 12 Thai kids stuck, or 13 stuck in a cave for like 2 weeks. But he made this thing and then sent it there to try to help them. And one of the experts, this guy named Vern Unsworth, he was like, after the whole rescue finished and all this shit, he came out and he's like, this was a PR stunt from Elon Musk, and it was useless. Like, I'll find the quote. He's like, he can stick his submarine where it hurts. The British rescue workers told CNN he had no conception of what the cave passage was like, and added that the submarine wouldn't have gone round any corners or round any obstacles. It wouldn't have made the first 50 meters of the cave. So, he's coming out and shit talking Elon Musk for making an attempt to help people. Like, this guy funded his own money to build something that probably cost, I don't know, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he also paid his experts and his scientists to work on this for free, and you're still going to come out and shit talk him, right? And be like, oh, this is just a PR stunt for his escape pod. Well, it's like, he developed it like on the fly, pretty much. And even if it was, who cares? It's like, sometimes people can do things for commercial profits, but also like help people at the same time, right? And he's saying, he was on Twitter, he was raging at the guy, and he was saying like, I'm gonna prove to you, in the upcoming weeks or whatever, that this thing is gonna be able to get through all of these tunnels that you said it wasn't able to get through. So we will see. But in the process, he called the guy like a pedo or something, like this pedo guy. He's like, oh, this pedo guy doesn't really know what he's talking about. And then he more or less doubled down on it afterwards and said like, I can bet you like, I can sign $1 and bet you or something. He's saying like, I can guarantee you essentially that he's probably a pedophile. And now the media is all writing stories about this. I'm like, oh my god, how could he accuse this guy who rescued all these boys? And maybe he does know something we don't, because this Verns Unsworth guy, he has been living in Thailand for 6 years straight. And I don't know if he has a wife or kids. If he doesn't, or if they're not with him, that looks a little fishy. That doesn't mean he's a pedophile. That doesn't mean that that right there is enough to say he's a pedophile. But there is a massive issue with Europeans, people from England and stuff, from all over the world, going to Thailand to sleep with underage kids, right? So it wouldn't be that far fetched if it came out recently that he is actually one. And he hasn't, I don't think he has responded to these comments yet. I'm pretty sure the media has been trying to contact him and he hasn't responded yet. So that does seem a little fishy. And Elon Musk has also deleted his tweets. But yeah, that is not going to necessarily look good for him unless in the near future we find out that this guy is indeed a fucking pedophile. And considering how smart Elon Musk most likely is, he's probably a pretty smart guy. It would seem weird to me that he would say something unsubstantiated like that on Twitter, right? That seems a little odd to me. So, I'm not going to say this guy's a pedophile or anything like that, but he has lived in Thailand for 6 years straight. That is a little fishy. And like, considering from where the source of it came from, that does maybe add a little bit more credibility to it too. Because like I said, like, I don't know, Elon Musk seems like a pretty smart guy. He doesn't seem like somebody who's going to throw around the pedo accusation to just about anybody unless he maybe knew a little bit about them. I don't know, or maybe he's just like that. We'll see in the coming weeks or future or whatever. But I find a lot of the hate he's getting pretty funny, and it's just it's because he came out against the media a couple months ago and said like he's gonna start his own thing that's gonna fact check the media, and then they all freaked their fucking shit out. And now pretty much every other day you see something about Elon Musk and how he's a piece of shit and how he's this, and there's something else recently came out. He actually donated to Republican. Look at all this money. He's against climate change and he's for this. He's a fraud. He's actually Republican, guys. Everybody's like, oh, what? He's Republican? Oh my God, we gotta burn him at the stake, right? It's like, you can do whatever you want as a liberal, as long as you say what they want you to say. You can be, and you're not a Republican, right? You can be a pedophile, you can be a murderer, you can be all these things, but as long as you repeat their mantra and don't deviate from where they want you to go, then it's all good. They're going to give you a free pass as much as they possibly can. But as soon as they find out you're conservative, you're against their ideology, then it's like you're shit, you're a horrible person, you're a monster, you're going to destroy the world. Like, you see the rhetoric that is being spoken about Trump right now because of what he's saying to the Europeans and what he's telling Theresa May what is really going on within her country, and what she's really doing to these people is bullshit. How she is not honoring Brexit, and that the country is changing through immigration. Like, Trump came in there into Europe and just had a shank with him, just shanked everybody. Got them right to the core, right between the seam of the armor, of everybody. Like, he just hit every button correctly. But, anybody that is like him whatsoever, they hate. And not Elon Musk isn't even close to that. But if you start to go against them even a little bit, like the thing I said about the media company, like, they are gonna come after you hard. Like, just the amount of blue check marks that come after him now is super fucking funny to see. And there was another article that came out recently from the New York Times, an opinion piece, and I see this stuff all the time from leftists, and they keep kind of shaming some of these rich billionaires whenever they do go out and give money and start these programs, like want to go to space. Like, they get really mad when people like billionaires want to invest their money to go and explore space or whatever like that. Or, no, you should be paying your workers more, or you should be doing this, or you should be putting your money into the government so we can waste it. This is what they want. Like, I saw this thing from not David Pakman, but that other liberal retard that looks kind of like him, and he's affiliated with the Young Turks. I can't remember his name, but he's like, if I was a billionaire, I would want to be taxed more. I always see this. You see these videos. I'm rich. Tax me more. I want to be taxed more. It's like nobody is stopping you from writing a check and sending it to the government or giving it directly to people. Nobody is stopping you. So this tells me is that you're a lying bullshitter, and you just want to increase the size of the government, increase, the ability of the government to take money and resources from people. And, that's why you want it. Because if you really wanted to help people, you would just give your money away. You would just give it away, but you don't. So, this whole bullshit thing. But I'll go through the article, and it's like, after this whole Thai thing happened, they came and they're like, well, see how your little submarine didn't help anybody. You're an idiot, and nobody likes you, blah. But I'll read it. They're like, Silicon Valley moguls seem to believe that they can fix most anything, and they appear befuddled when their attempts to do so aren't met with unbridled enthusiasm. It's like, just look at the language, unbridled enthusiasm. Like, I don't think he was expecting unbridled enthusiasm. Like he was like they're talking about right now how he's responding to somebody who said that his little pod wasn't going to work or something, right? And they're like, oh, the way he reacted was clearly, crazy and all this stuff. But they're kind of leaving out a little bit of information. Like within the New York Times article for this one, they say that he's responding to like this one guy, but when he was actually responding to Vern's Unsworth. So, they kind of mixed up the information in this, or maybe I did, I'm not sure, but I'll keep reading it. The tech billionaire Elon Musk was among the millions of people captivated by the plight of the 12 boys and the soccer coach recently trapped in the cave in Thailand. But Mr. Musk didn't just follow the story on the news in social media. He has vast resources, so he tried to help. It's like that's a bad thing, It's like, oh, these privileged rich people trying to help. He directed his engineers to build a miniature submarine, basically a sophisticated metal cylinder that he hoped could be used for the rescue. He shared videos of the submarine with his 22 million followers on Twitter. He received widespread media coverage and encouragement from his many fans. Mr. Musk's desire to help was commendable, but when the head of the rescue operation, Narungsak Osotanakorn, declared that the Mr. Musk contraption was impractical for the task at hand, a task that had been completed at that point by some of the world's top cave divers, Mr. Musk responded with irritation. He insisted that Mr. Narungasaka or whatever was not the subject matter expert. He also expressed frustration that he was being criticized while trying to help. So that right there is kind of weird, because in a lot of the other stories that I was reading, he was responding to Vern Unsworth, who was just like the acting commander or something like that. So it seems a little, there's a couple different stories from different news agencies here. But instead of venting Mr. Musk, indeed, Silicon Valley as a whole can perhaps see the Thai operation as a lesson. This was not a most improbable rescue against the longest odds, safely navigating 12 kids on one adult, many of whom were not swimmers, though a dangerous cave relied on model of innovation that Silicon Valley can and should learn from. So the Silicon Valley model for doing things is a mix of can-do optimism, faith that expertise in one domain can be transferred seamlessly to another, and a preference for rapid, flashy, high-profile action. But what got the kids and their coach out of the cave was a different model, a slower, more methodical, more narrowly specialized approach to problems, one that has turned many risky enterprises into safe endeavors. So what they're talking about here, right, they're trying to get into your head is regulations, right? They're the safety, what all these other things, these enterprises, the methodical, narrowly specialized, has turned many risky enterprises into safe endeavors, commercial airlines, travel, for example, or rock climbing, both of which have extensive protocols and safety procedures that have taken years to develop. So yeah, they're talking about safety regulations. They're like, oh, the fast approach of Silicon Valley of, not going through all this bureaucracy and this red tape and these regulations doesn't always work. We see how it works with Google and all these other, crazy inventions. But see, this one time, his pod thing that was trying to help these kids didn't work. See, this time the government and regulations is what saved these kids. It wasn't his fast thinking and all this shit. Whereas this guy, like Elon Musk, didn't even start helping until after the first Thai diver died, right? So if he had started helping earlier, maybe the thing could have worked, or he could have modeled and changed it differently. But the fucking they do this all the time, liberals and that. They take credit for what oftentimes the free market or people do, and then they say, oh, it's the government that did it. It was all those Thai divers who did it. So it's not the government. These people, a lot of these divers dived for fun. Okay, and people are like, oh, you don't have the regulations, then they wouldn't have been all safe. It's like, no, if you're diving in caves, you're gonna be safe. You don't need regulations to tell you to be safe, because you're diving in a cave, and you want to be safe. Like, most people do not want to die. So if they're doing dangerous things, they're going to take precautions. And the safe things that they learn is from people going out and trying these things, right? And be like, oh, okay, you need this much stuff to be safe at this temperature or at this depth. You need this much oxygen. It's like, you learn that from people going in and doing it. And then later they come and tell the government, like, oh, okay, this is safer. But, they come in, they take credit for it. But this safety culture model is neither stilted or stilted nor uncreative. On the contrary, deep expertise, lengthy training, and the ability to learn from experience and to incorporate the lessons of those experiences into future practices is a valuable form of ingenuity. So, how does this not happen on the free market? This does happen. You do learn from your past mistakes. You do learn from older experiences, and you incorporate that into future practices. The free market does this. This is not exclusive to the government with safety culture and safety practices. This approach is what allowed the airline captain Chelsea Sullenberger to safely land a commercial airplane on the Hudson River in 2009 after its engines were disabled. Captain whatever skill, composure were, of course, a credit to him personally. So they're like, well, obviously the guy and his skill and all this played a role, but mostly it was the regulations and the safety procedures and all this shit. But they also rested on decades of training and learning in an industry that had been government regulated and self-regulated to such a degree that hurling through the atmosphere in a giant metal can at 35,000 feet is now one of the safest ways to travel. So the government just took credit for safe travel in the air. Bullshit. That is bullshit. Okay? Okay. Who is gonna fly in planes that are not safe? If there is one airline that every other plane is going down and crashing and people are dying, nobody's going to use that airline anymore. They're going to be sued. All this shit. Like, it's not the government. Like, the airlines have a lot of interest in having their planes not go down in smoke and all this shit. And a lot of the times these government policies are probably putting more people in danger because they're like, we got to change diversity hiring. We got to promote this guy to this and promote this person to this, promote this woman to this thing, even though she's not really qualified. Then we have all these planes going down now lately. We wonder why. It's like, I don't know. We have more regulations than we've ever had, ever. But we're still having a lot of deaths, and we're still having things go down. Sometimes there are spikes, in the amount of work safety deaths and all this shit, right? Like, it does not necessarily correlate with a lot of these regulations. But they're obviously going to take credit for it. By contrast, Silicon Valley moguls seem to favor spending money on improbable but impressive-sounding long shots. In 2010, Mark Zuckerberg, the chief executive of Facebook, donated $100 million to New Jersey schools as part of a multi-year plan to improve them. The centerpiece of the plan was teacher evaluation in charter schools. So right there, they're like, oh, charter schools, bad. Teacher evaluation, bad. We need to have unions to protect these teachers. Charter schools are bad because they have money and they're kind of private. You have more choice. But it didn't work out. Didn't work well. Some aspects of the plan even made things worse. They don't elaborate on it, though. They just say it made it worse. It's probably the government policies that were making things worse anyways. But then they just see, it's like, this is what they do. They take credit for the things that the free market does, and when they fuck up shit, when they ruin the economy, when they create the housing crisis like they did in 2008, whose fault is it? It's the free market's fault. It's always the free market's fault. What is the solution? Increasing the government, increasing the power state, more regulations, more things on this. So, they go on making a lot of money, and tech is not qualification. Okay, wait. Jersey, a multi-year plan to improve them. Some aspects, whatever, maybe even worse. Education is a complex topic, and making a lot of money in the tech is not a qualification for solving educational problems. Well, clearly the government doesn't know anyways either, because literacy has been going down. And I agree. Education is extremely complex. That's why you need it to be more private. And you can't have a specific curriculum that literally the entire country of 400 million is going to have to follow to a T, because, kids are different. They learn differently. They people learn differently. Certain cultures learn differently. Genders, races. So, to just have a one size fits all, is not going to be good for everybody. And education is complex. That's why we need to leave it up to the free market, leave it up to people learning what works best, other than having the government try to figure it out on their own. Because the free market consists of millions and millions and millions and millions of people putting in their 2 cents, kind of with their money to to figure out what's best. But the government, instead of millions and millions and millions of people kind of figuring it out through buying and selling, they're just trying to figure it out. And they're like, oh, okay, this was probably good. We should probably do this. And they don't know. They don't know what is going to be the best way to raise the kids, And a lot of the times they don't care. Governments, they have no intention of educating you. They want you to be as dumb as just useful enough to do shit for them to, do menial work, but not smart enough to pretty much, figure out who is really controlling you, who is in charge of you, who is pulling the fucking strings, this is why you're useless when you come out of 12 years of education. They don't want us to be intelligent. And the elites, the things that they fear most, it's not even politics or anything like this, changing of leaders. What they're afraid of is poor people getting mad and turning on them and taking their shit, right? And figuring out what the fuck is going on. But Silicon Valley also tends to ignore problems in its own house. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, has declared that space exploration is one of the main things he should spend his money on, but poorly paid workers in Amazon warehouses who work under grueling conditions may have other ideas about how Mr. Bezos might spend his money. So once again, he would have to give his employers more money if there was not the government coming in and subsidizing, first of all, probably a lot of his work. One of the reasons he has such a fucking monopoly on things right now is because of the government contracts that he gets that are worth billions or millions of dollars. He has all these contracts for the CIA, all this shit. And not only that, the government also helps these large corporations by subsidizing people's wages with welfare, by benefits, social programs. So these large companies have no incentive to pay more when the government is going to do it. If they're going to pick up the slack, they have no incentive to pay you more. But at the same time, it's and also if they did get the money legitimately and you have all the billions of dollars and you're not really taking advantage of people, you should be allowed to spend it to go to space and waste it on all these things. Because, these leftists, they want to take away the incentive within society that makes us rich, that brings us wealth, that brings us innovation. If you, create an inheritance tax, or say you can only make this much, people are not going to want to strive to build things like the automobile, like the plane that these people are taking essentially credit for the safety for. People wouldn't have developed all of these things if they didn't have the potential of maybe keeping the earnings of the fruits of their labor, right? And then, in the case of Mr. Musk, his submarine, the Thai authorities understood that they needed to let the expert divers cave. They needed to let the expert cave divers plan and direct the rescue operation. Mr. Musk, to his credit, said he would take the lead from the divers, but the kind publicity Mr. Musk created can take on a life of its own and exert undue influence. I don't mean to dismiss the role of technological innovation. Maybe in the future some version of Mr. Musk's contraption could be useful, but that would require long-term development, testing, collaboration with a variety of experts, not just a handful of Mr. Musk engineers. Which is bullshit, because he created SpaceX, right? The thing that can, spaceship that can land on its own, right? Back to Earth. And he didn't have the help of a lot of the experts and all the shit that you're saying that he needs. Like, well, you need the government. You need this. You need this. It's like, no, you don't. We don't need this. This is a lie. And they're going to keep, promoting this shit forever and ever and ever until you give up everything you have. But like, if Silicon Valley wants to help the world, there's a lot it can do, starting with making its own products safer and its own companies more just. So that means unions and paying people more. Perhaps most important, it can develop respect for hard-earned expertise in areas other than its own. So this is just them mad at Musk for coming out and saying reporters are this or reporters are this. So now reporters are like, hey, we're experts. We'll report. We'll tell you what the news is. You shut the fuck up and you keep building stuff, right? But it's funny. I'm really curious. I want to see what the reporters are gonna make next about him, because this is not gonna stop. It's going to be hit piece after hit piece until he comes on his knees and apologizes. But the way that the media is reacting to him right now, it's probably just opening his eyes more and more and more every day. So this is a good thing, the way that they're acting. This will just bring an ally onto our side eventually. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. And sorry for the video being a little bit longer than usual. And follow me on Twitter, Gab, Minds, BitChute. I'm on most other things, just in case this channel ever gets taken down. And I want to thank the people who have donated to me throughout, since I've made this channel. Catherine Aquitaine, and Jack, and just everybody who is commenting and sharing the videos. Like, that all helps, and I appreciate all you guys. I'm sorry if I forgot some names, but I'll try to get it on the next video. But that's all I had to say, so take it easy.